Call the roll.
Director Davidson,
Say yes, I'm here. I'm here as well. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. At this time, public may address the board on anything that is not on the agenda. Is there any public comment today? It's an item that is not on our current agenda. Okay, go ahead. Come on forward. It's really not this committee.
Oh. Okay,
I'm not gonna be able to address it, but you could make a comment.
right. So I'm just concerned about the water rates and the sewer rate. I live out in Wallace and, evidently the wastewater is not like sludge or anything. It's just overflow from the septic tanks. I'm not sure why the sewage is so much. Living in a big city, it's nowhere near that. So you're not treating a bunch of sludge. So, that's my concern, just the price of water and, there's a lot of elderly people live up here on fixed incomes. And you gotta know it's hurting their pocketbooks. I mean, I don't know, how else to address this, but, I know there was a grand jury that reviewed all this and they came up with some results, and I don't know, you guys gonna do anything about it or?
Once again, we can't comment on it.
Right, okay, I'm just addressing that, but
We're well aware that the
Right.
rates are high.
and there's a lot of people that, I don't know, I've talked to people that didn't even know about it and they're realizing why the rates are so high. And these are elderly people,
We're,
and that's
we
gonna
talk to
talk.
those people every day
You do?
as
Okay.
well. Yeah. We all live in the district. We're aware.
Right. And well, I just want to make my voice heard here.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So just very briefly, since it's not on the agenda, that's why we can't discuss it. So and I think the most important thing I can do right now is just point you to the C70 website where our external affairs manager has just recently put on, there's a button on the homepage now where you can click to information about the grand jury reports that shows not just the grand jury report, but our responses to those, how we have responded to both of the grand jury reports. So I think that's probably the best thing. There were two. And we responded to both of them, and that information is on the website. It's always been on the website. It was just, we made sure to make it. So again, we have to stick to the agenda here. I will say that's water and wastewater, not just water, and understand.
Unfortunately, it's not on the agenda today, and I know, but what'll happen is we'll get, another notice from the grand jury for violating the Brown Act if we continue down this path. So we're gonna have to just hold it at that. Okay? So thank you for coming. All right, we'll move on to approval of minutes for the meeting of May 6th. 2025, and July 8th and September 17th. Motion for acceptance.
Move for approval.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll move on to new business, NCPA soil drop, engineering department.
Good afternoon, committee members. So this agenda item is about the NCPA soil drop. So this is from McKay's Reservoir. NCPA is dredging 100,000 cubic yards of sediment out of McKay's Reservoir to restore the capacity. So the material is going to be processed at the dam, then hauled the plan is to haul it to CCWD's, our wastewater treatment plant in Arnold. We have a property adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant that,
Okay, Michael, could you take that outside? Go ahead. keep coming.
okay, so the soil has been characterized by NCPA and it says it's non-hazardous, mainly silty sand and sandy silt. So in order to haul that material to Arnold, it'd be about 12,500 truck trips over basically a 6-month period. So that'd be hauling, I think, down Moran Road. So yeah, it'd be come out of Love Creek and then down Moran Road to the Arnold wastewater treatment plant. So we kind of included in the agenda package a map of the proposed locations of this spill. So it's a property that we own that's adjacent to our wastewater treatment plant. So there'll be gentle slopes where they contour the ground, and then they're going to be covered with topsoil and seeding it when they're done. And the benefits of this project is that we can provide an area for NCPA to place the spoils. I think they've exhausted all the locations around the dam. So they're just kind of looking for nearby locations where we could place this material. Being that we're the dam owners, it reduces the long-term management costs in the facility. So we have NCPA here today. Do you guys have any questions about the project or any kind of direction? What we're looking for today is direction from the engineering committee to move forward with this process with NCPA.
Okay, anybody else want to add to that?
I think we bring it to the full board at the next meeting as well. So a recommendation from the committee.
Who, has this already been bid?
Not
Go ahead.
bid, yeah. I think it's best to introduce Jake Einan is
Go ahead, Jake.
the
Come on up.
manager, the hydro project manager for NCPA. So thanks for being here today, Jake, and Nick Potter, the dam safety engineer, is also here from NCPA.
Yeah, very, very much appreciate being able to come today. And thank you for your work on the project and CCWD's interest long-term in working with us on the project. Yeah, we've done a lot of looking for a site. Been spending a lot of time investigating that. And so we just want to let you know that we would lead the site better than when we arrived, minus the spoils. So we want to continue to work cooperatively with it. We have not yet bid the project. To answer your question, Director Davidson, we are looking to begin the environmental process. Okay. And we go through the full environmental, and then at that point,
How long do you suppose that'll take?
we're looking at about 18 months. So
Just for the environmental?
yeah, that's correct. We have to develop a project description and then conduct the appropriate CEQA and NEPA for it. There's a lot of approvals required as well on the federal side too. It does say in the agenda item as early as 2026 June. It would actually be as early as 2027 June. So do have some work on this.
All right. Have any questions?
It looks good to me. It's mind boggling that, Mother Nature could have deposited that much material in that lake.
And maybe Jake, if you wouldn't mind describe a little bit, because it's a feat of engineering to dredge McKay's. It sounds like maybe just a little bit of the process.
Yeah, for sure. So McKay's experienced in the 97 Sourgrass slide, a significant amount of material came in. That material continues to move towards the outlet or rather the intake. And so we have evaluated all possible options for extraction. The one we've landed on provides continued water service to CCWD and UWPA that comes off the tap, trying to minimize impacts to power generation as well. And so that will be done a wet dredge process. So really basically clamshell dredges off barges. Then that will be loaded topside, brought via truck to an area for the water to decant, to drain out, sorted the logs and the other vegetative debris out, and then taken ultimately, hopefully to your site for a treatment plant. It'll require a significant amount of water quality measures, large turbidity curtains for the link to the reservoir to separate clean from the work area. So there's a lot of logistics, semi-experimental actually, to keep water service available, keep power generation. We will need to take some outages associated with this, something that the project has not had to experience to date, but we're committed to minimizing whatever that will be. So we'll be working with your staff.
Is there any, yes, is this a grant funded project? Or
It is not currently a grant.
you're seeking?
Yeah, yeah. We did receive some funds that did come out of FEMA originally to the 97.
That's what I was wondering.
That
That would have been.
there is, and that money is earmarked for this. It won't cover, but
Because there had to be a disaster declaration at that time.
that is come and gone, and we did receive them.
All right, well, I don't have any issues with it.
Nope, we can recommend it for a nice.
Okay. All right, well, thanks.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Nick.
Another interesting saga of the Cascades. This should be interesting to watch. All right, we'll move on to 4B, Valley Springs Public Utility District Consolidation. Kevin?
Hey, good afternoon, again. So this is the regional consolidation project that we've kind of been talking about, where we consolidate wastewater treatment, just the treatment portion of the sewage in Valley Springs. So we would take sewage from Valley Springs and Intertie that would flow into our system and go through Huckleberry and then up to our treatment plant. So this kind of addresses Valley Springs Public Utilities compliance and capacity issues they have at their existing plant, while also leveraging funds to make the improvements to our treatment plant. The phase 3 improvements, which is the new biolac, new pipeline, and improvements to Huckleberry Lift Station. And it also provides funding to do some I&I reduction work in the Valley Springs system, and other improvements that we'll work with Valley Springs on kind of determining what that will be. Because Valley Springs PUDs qualifies as a disadvantaged community under the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. If they're the applicant, that allows us to check an additional box to be able to get some funding for this project through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. They prioritize these consolidation projects similar to the funding we got for our disadvantaged community in Wilseyville to consolidate the Wilseyville and West Point treatment plants. Hydroscience Engineers, who's the design engineer on our La Cantena wastewater treatment plant, gave us a proposal for $81,000 to create the Clean Water State Revolving Grant and Loan application. It's a forgivable loan. The application would be submitted by Valley Springs, and we would be doing most of the work to get that application ready to go. So we're here today to ask your input on moving forward with this this process of submitting the grant and in the professional service agreement to Hydroscience to help us with that grant application.
Okay, so what all we're doing here is giving approval to approve applying for the grant. But if the grant comes and there's in the future, we don't necessarily have to do this project.
No, this would be where today we're because it's under the threshold for the board. We were just looking for the engineering committees. We have budget in the La Cantena project to fund this effort of $81,000. So we were asking if we go ahead and submit the grant application. Obviously, you could turn it down if you want. Valley Springs, we already brought this to their, and Sarah's here today representing Valley Springs. We brought that to their board and they approved us to, or approved the submission of the application.
Okay.
So I think we got a really good project. There's no guarantees, obviously, that we'll get this grant, and they're very competitive. But we think it's our best option of funding a project that's been difficult to, there's a lot of, it'd be difficult to fund otherwise.
Right? Currently, we serve how many residents in Valley Spring at the Arkansas sewer plant?
Is there 2,000? Yeah, I think about 2,000.
And Valley Springs has, what,
Like 300.
300?
Yeah. So they would have to be, eventually there'd have to be an agreement on operation of the treatment plant with Valley Springs. But they would be saving on the treatment process they work on right now at their treatment plant. So I think it would be very valuable to both our agencies to work together on this to consolidate this and for the community as a whole.
Agree. Anything?
I think that in my mind, this is very similar to the situation that we have with being as can process some of the sewage there. See it. Now, English can't does the bulk of the treatment. This proposal was like that same setup. Sending material to us.
Yeah, that would be similar arrangement where we paid Eagles Camp some money to treat it.
And probably about how many customers do we serve with that system? 600.
It's a lot less than that.
Small. Dozens. No, I don't think it's 200. Sam, roughly about 49, 6 miles.
If it's still in the budget, it's $3,000 a month. Okay, so you're looking for, this will come back to the whole board or not?
We weren't planning on bringing it back to the full board. We were just wanted to move ahead with this. If it's under 100 grand, it doesn't necessarily have to go to the full board.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need board approval of it. We just wanted to make sure we're checking in with board members, with the engineering committee as this moves forward. And Sarah, I don't know, thank you for being here today. I wasn't able to be at the VSPUD board meeting, but do you mind maybe sharing how that went? If you don't mind, sorry, the folks online can't hear if you're not in a microphone.
Hi, Sarah, Valley Springs PD. Our board was in favor of it. Obviously, cost was a huge factor into it. But overall, because we are a disadvantaged community, we don't have state funds and grant money just floating around. Hopefully being able to save some costs every month or yearly, whatever the agreement terms come to be, but overall, we think it's really good beneficial for the community. But yeah, our board was in favor of it and definitely moving forward with the application and just there's no official
Right.
yes or no, but I think overall it's good.
Yeah, so I think at this point, we don't necessarily need board action. We just want to, this is a big deal and it'd be a huge collaboration between us and DSPD. So we want to make sure we're checking on a regular basis as it goes forward.
What's the ballpark dollar amount that you think
So the initial estimate was,
that both districts need to upgrade their systems?
so it's, our initial estimate was $27 million, but we're thinking it might be like 35 million. With the grant, we get up to $50 million free money. We're not paying, there's no percentage if it's a disadvantaged community, so it could be a huge win for the community if we can. We just need to make sure we don't want to ask for more than we need, because that can be a problem too. So we're trying to make a project that water board is gonna want to fund, so we're gonna try to, so we think it's gonna be at least $2,700.
Is there any path to getting a discharge permit after we make these improvements? Can we
Yeah,
include that?
so the improvements we're making, the Biolac, it's got nutrient removal, which is one of the key items that you need to do in order to get discharge permit is hydrogen removal. So, and the new Biolac has toxin anox zones within it. I think it's gonna take our nutrient levels way down. So there's still other work that needs to happen before you can get that, but that's definitely, we're moving in that direction, hopefully.
But that'll be something that we'll be planning on doing all that work, so we can at least give it another shot at discharge. Because currently, the land acquisition cost for us to spray is significant, and we need, from what I understand, the Lafayette Sewer Master Plan, we're still on the hook to buy about 150 acres somewhere for the full build out.
And yet, there's a lot of opportunities for different ways to get rid of water now, groundwater recharge and organized with that. So there's always something out there that's new and exciting in that realm.
Right, because land cost plus spray field development. Right. That's the cost.
Chemicals to treat.
Yeah.
We're,
So we'll be able-
we're in the other avenues too, of acquiring different area for our spray field, so it can eliminate that cost and not have additional costs for our community. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
That's significant.
I think, it could be a win-win. So thank you, Sarah and PSPD and Kevin for taking the.
All right, well, I think we're fine with it.
Yes, we are.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Kevin. Is there any public comment on that item?
Should we circle back? Any public comment on the item there?
Oh, yes. Also, is there any public comment on the McKay's dredging? We have public with us? All right, sorry about this. Okay, where are we at? Arnold Sewer Master Plan update. Chase.
Afternoon. So update, we received 3 proposals. We had RP issued September, so we did end up receiving 3 of them. So just as an update as to why we are seeking to update our master plan. So our last update was in 2005. Our service area has increased since then. So with that, we have to reevaluate our goals. So our goals here are to evaluate existing infrastructure and conditions, determining existing capacity, as well as assess the I&I trends, determine the feasibility to consolidate Avery and Millwoods with Arnold, and then as well as review the current regulatory compliance and permitting, and ultimately develop a 20-year capital improvement program. So of the 3 choices we had Verdantis, Hydroscience, and Blackwater. We came to the conclusion that basically Verdantis and Hydroscience were equal. They're essentially equal in price, ability, and understanding of the project. Blackwater did come in quite a bit higher. But ultimately, we are recommending to move forward with Verdantis. Reason being is, well, currently Hydroscience is on a number of our projects, and particularly in the Arnold area. They're currently the engineer of record on the Arnold Secondary Clarifier project, a pretty sizable project, as well as the Arnold Water Master Plan. That would be the drinking water side. What's nice about having Verdantis on the wastewater side, well, in addition to that, Hydroscience did also prepare the engineer design report for the Arnold Secondary Clarifier project. So it would be nice to have a second set of eyes on this, and be able to pit what Hydroscience has been preparing, because what they're finding is going to come into play with what Verdantis is putting together on the sewer side. So I think we're ultimately going to have a more comprehensive and complete master plan to be beneficial for the area. Also with Verdantis, we did like that one of the principal engineers prepared the master plan for the Arnold area in 2005. He's now one of the principal engineers with Verdantis. Lastly, we really enjoyed that Verdantis has a lot of in-house technical support. So a lot of the two other options, they were planning on hiring some consultants on the flow monitoring and other testing sites. Verdantis is going to be able to do everything in-house. So we'll be able to communicate more directly with them. They're the ones collecting the data. We're able to interpret that together without having an extra third party just making it messy. So ultimately what we're requesting is, well, I should also note that, so for the price, Verdantis did come in at $238,944. The competitor that we're saying, Equal Hydroscience, came in around $230,000. We would like to move forward with Verdantis and are seeking recommendation to proceed to the for approval and execute a professional service agreement.
The engineer that you spoke of that did the master plan, was it? His name is
Carl Brustad.
It'll be asked to come down. He's $40 an
All right. So we're just recommending this go before the full board or not, or this is not.
Yeah, this would have to go.
Okay.
Yeah, November.
Is there any public comment? Anybody have any questions? All right, we will move that forward to the board. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the La Cantera capacity fee study, Kevin.
Okay, so I'll do a quick introduction and then we have Sean. That's our consultant that did the capacity fee study. He's online. So the capacity fee study was for our La Cantera wastewater service area. So we've had a number of recent changes. We just completed the designs for the Biolac and the Huckleberry lift station. And then we have some changes in developers that are planning on doing work in the area. So we thought it was time to update our wastewater capacity fee study for La Cantera to kind of ensure that the developers come on board are paying their fair share for the development and they're not putting the burden on the existing ratepayers unevenly. So we spent a lot of time just recently updating our master plan. And then so the next step after that was the capacity fee study. So I'll turn it over to Sean with HDR to go through his presentation.
Good afternoon, Directors Davidson and Thomas. Great to see you both again. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So as Kevin talked about, we'll be walking through the updated La Cantera wastewater system capacity charge. So as I go through this, I'll just touch briefly on the first three topics here of the purpose, the overview, and the methodology. And then we'll jump into the capital charge analysis and the update for the capacity charge for La Cantera. So as we think about this, when we look at the overall changes that Kevin just outlined as part of the master plan, we want to make sure that we capture the value of those existing assets that still provide benefits to those new customers connecting to the system or existing customers increasing their capacity, as well as the new facilities to be acquired to maintain those service levels. And really, that future piece is the focus of this update. So given that new master plan, we have capital improvements that have been updated, revised since the last update a few years ago. And so we're updating this based on what we did before, as well as generally accepted methodologies, so our typical approach to establishing these types of fees, but then based on the specific customer and system characteristics. And that's what's helpful about that master plan, is it provides us with some of the key assumptions and demographics that go into that. So as I mentioned, our capacity charge is required of all new customers connecting to the system, as well as existing customers if they were going to increase their capacity requirements. So this is usually a change in business. As an example, typically we don't see this on the residential single family side, but if there was some change to a customer and they needed more capacity. And then we base that on the value of the capacity and how much capacity you all have available in the La Contenta system. So as part of this, remember, this is a policy discussion to have growth pay for growth. So this is based on what those improvements are to serve those new customers to reflect that existing facilities and the future facilities necessary. Now, this is capital. This is not the operations and maintenance side. There's specific requirements of how we can use the revenues from this capacity charge, and it's really directly for expansion or capacity adding projects. So dollar for dollar, we have a project, we can use these revenues for that, or you can use them to pay for debt service that could be issued to fund a project like this. So when we look at the current capacity charge for La Contenta, this was updated, if you remember, back in 2022. It's been updated recently as you all have moved forward, and the table shows that current capacity charge for single family accessory dwelling unit apartments and condos, duplex, triplex, and then mobile home, again, based on that ratio of what the capacity is for each of those. So for a single family home, $15,902, and then for each below, based on that value. And then commercial is separate. It's based on the demand table, which reflects those capacities that are required by that non-residential commercial customer that would be part of that. So that's individualized essentially for those commercial customers. So if you remember the formula from a couple years ago when we went through this, again, we're taking our current assets, so the La Contenta infrastructure, and we're dividing that by our total equivalent single family units, or ESFUs. What's added to that is the future plant that is growth related. So looking at the projects, what proportion or portion of that project provides additional capacity, and that's divided through only by the future. So the difference between our existing, what's being served today and what we can serve at build out, that gives us our maximum allowable capacity charge. And I think the two of you have heard me say this before, fairly simple, easy math, but it's the assumptions that go into it that make it a little challenging. So for the existing assets, those are based on the existing infrastructure brought up to today's dollars, less any contributions, so anything that the district or its customers have paid for. We have no outstanding debt. We usually would back out debt principal, but there is none. And it also includes La Contenta's share of the admin building. So if you go back to the full fee study we did back in 2022, that, and before that, the admin building cost is divided through by the total water and sewer ESFUs. And that's been maintained in this calculation as it did in the prior. We have our updated capital plan based on the recent update that you all have. And then we based our system planning criteria. So what is an ESFU? How much capacity do we have at the plant today? What's our total capacity on the master plan information? So as we've gone through that, we've touched on a couple of these already. Again, relying on that master plan to provide the basis for our calculations, the current capital plan and the master plan. As I noted, no outstanding debt related to the La Contenta wastewater system. So there's no credit as part of that. And as I talked about general methodologies and meeting those requirements, we also have to meet the requirements of California Code 66,000, and that's the Mitigation Fee Act. 66,013, 16, and 22 outline the key assumptions there. There's obviously other components in there, but ultimately it comes down to that the fee must reasonably be related to and attributable to the cost of infrastructure and improvements made necessary to serve new development. So when we think about that existing system that has capacity in it, plus the future, we're relating it to this assumption and approach based on the Mitigation Fee Act. So thinking about the capacity charge future calculation, we had a total improvement value of 36.4 million. And the master plan, thankfully, actually went through and designated which projects and what proportion is growth or expanded capacity related. And of that 36 million, about 2/3, 23.4 million, is capacity related and eligible to be recovered through the capacity charge. So as an example, if you look at the first row in the box below, phase 3 HLS replacement, the total cost is 8 million, rounding. It's 50% capacity related. So 4 million of that project is included in the calculation of the capacity charge. And we do that for each of the projects. So you see for each of those 9 projects there, or 8 projects there, you can see what that percent is for each of those projects. And that gives us the sum of those is our 23.4 million. Now, what we do here, this is both the existing and the future. So this is the summary of the calculation. So the top part, all the land improvements, treatment collections contributed, those totals are our existing infrastructure brought up to today's value, reduced by annual depreciation expense. That is then divided through by our total build out ESFUs that can be served based on the capacity of the existing plant, which would be 2,580 ESFUs. That gives us a cost per ESFU of $5,757, the first bold number in the right-hand side of the page, for existing. We have no debt, so that's zero. The future, there's our 23.4 million. That is divided by 1,488 ESFUs, or those future ESFUs that can be added, to give a total future component of $15,737. We add to that the admin building. That's the total cost divided by the total water and sewer ESFUs, the 26,551, for a total of $225. The sum of those 3 components is our total maximum allowable capacity charge for the La Contenta wastewater system, and that's $21,719. This slide on slide 10 provides you with the present and the maximum allowable capacity charge. So you can see roughly almost a $6,000 increase for that typical ESFU. And then for each of the different types of residential customers based on those same weighting factors to reflect the capacity demands of those types of customers. And then commercial still on the demand table, but based on the proposed capacity charge. One thing we did talk about as part of this is there's been some discussion of an area of benefit for the North Vista lift station area. As we talked about that as part of this, that would be more of a direct benefit for those customers, and it would be a separate charge for those customers rather than trying to roll that into this fee and calculation as part of that. So that's a future discussion, but we just wanted you all to be made aware of the thought process today of how we'd be working through that. So with that, to summarize, the capacity charge analysis establishes that reasonable relationship between the impact of a new connection to the system and the charge reflective of the existing facilities and the future facilities necessary to be constructed to meet those future demands. This updated charge reflects the current costs and the value of capacity today. And again, this is the maximum allowable charge. As a matter of policy, the district could adopt a charge that is less than that, but that would imply a sharing of the cost of the growth and expansion between existing ratepayers and new development. So next steps for us is to take any questions, comments from the two of you on this committee and update our analysis to finalize that. We'll develop that written report to support the calculation, and then we'd be presenting that final capacity charge and report to the board. And then based on the board's direction and input, then the board would determine how that would be implemented here in the future. And with that, I will turn it back over to you all if you have any questions for me.
You have anything, Russ?
Yes. If I could direct you back to your plat 5. Where you show the single family residential, the type of structure, the accessory dwelling, so on and so forth. I'm puzzled about, and you have a single family residential that the current capacity charge is 15,902. And accessory dwelling looks like it's half that about. But you have an apartment and a condo, which is the same as an accessory dwelling, but on the next listing, duplex, triplex, condo, why wouldn't the am I to assume that if I built a duplex, it would be twice 11,000?
I believe it's per connection, so it would be that 11,000. And that's
Okay.
based on those demand weighting factor assumptions of the capacity, or in this case, the wastewater flow that would be generated by each.
But then, no, there'd be 2 meters.
So then that would be different, correct, Director Davidson? Yes.
Yeah, because that, I mean, can't show.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what's prompting this my line of questioning here. If when you have an apartment or a condo, the condo would be charged 8,746. You have a weighting factor on the next line. It goes from 0.55 to 0.7, so that what would justify charging a condo, a comparable condo, the difference between 8,700 and 11,131? Explain that to me.
And I can double check that one for you. That's a good question. I'll make sure that title is correct, or if there is a different, I'll circle back on that for y'all.
No, it would seem to me that this needs to be more about square footage than that's about what you want to call something.
Yeah, that's a discussion probably in its own as far as like amending that district wide, because we've actually had some discussions on that recently of how this is done. And there's been some changes in the accessory dwelling units, and we still think this is allowable under all the new laws, the way that this is.
Well, but
Right.
but I think what we need to have to do is come up with some definitions in regards to square footage on some of these smaller apartments, and what's the difference between an apartment and a condo?
Yeah, and a lot of our apartment complexes are master meters, so it would be completely different in this anyway. So most of them are master metered, and they have the apartment complex either as sub meters or they proportion the cost between all apartments. So we've been talking about, but I guess this would be an apartment or condo that has its own meter, which is fairly rare.
Right.
Okay, I have more questions on plat 10. You got the current capacity charge and then a proposed capacity charge. on the first page, they say that, the existing residential properties wouldn't be subject to this proposed increase. Did I read that correctly?
Current customers, correct, do not pay a capacity charge, only new customers.
Now, we have what I think is a kind of an unusual policy here at the district that if something catastrophic happens to a single family residence in La Cantera, burns down, the owner of that property has to continue to pay all charges associated with water and sewer, even though there's no house there.
Nope, they can suspend that rate while they're rebuilding the house. If the house is red tagged, it's uninhabitable, the rate can be suspended.
Okay, but what's rattling around in my head is like a 5-year duration that I just want to get it clear in my head that if the property did not get built upon for 5 years.
There is a time period. I can't remember exactly what it is. I believe I'd have to go back and pull that policy up specifically. I think we have some flexibility there, depending on the circumstances. I think you might be thinking of the termination of service policy, where if they're trying to permanently terminate service, then it has to be a vacant policy. But in a situation like that, where a house burns down, there is a suspension of service that can go into effect.
Okay, and it seems like that this is, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is sort of pitched toward a 50-unit development, 150 unit development. What about if there is a single family residential lot that has never been built on in La Contenta? Would they be subject to the old charge or the new charge?
They would be subject to new charge. So this is for new connections. So infill lots would pay the same amount.
Okay.
That's if they don't have a meter ready or haven't paid capacity fees.
Well, that's the last question that I have, that the mention was made that you'll go back and look at those, the condo and the apartment comparisons.
I don't know. That needs to come back to the engineering committee as a separate discussion.
No, I was gonna say that before it comes back to the board, that needs to be resolved, because I'll be asking the same question at that time.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if we have a solution for that at this point, and that'd be a whole policy change, so that'd be in itself.
Well,
the way we calculate.
let us see the policy.
Okay,
Hey, listen, what, our previous, agenda item, we're seeking $35 million to upgrade the treatment plant. What is that going to do to this? I
So-
realize we have to proceed if we're not going to get it, but what would be, if we are successful in that grant, those are major modifications of the treatment plant. So this would,
yeah,
Okay.
that would they would probably reduce the capacity fees because the future improvements past phase 3 are less costly. And then the big improvements you have to make now for the Biolac and Huckleberry, those are the high dollar items that you have to do right now. So we'd have to recalculate in some of these, the headworks facilities and the tertiary filter addition. Those type of items would be the ones that be figured into the capacity fee going forward. So
are we going to have to go through another complete different study, or are we?
I think we
do
would.
the math?
I think so much would change that we would have to redo this.
So it is a possibility these maybe temporarily this high.
It could be, yeah, and hopefully that's the case. And I think I'm sorry if I missed the earlier discussion, but to Director Thomas's point I wonder if we can bring this back to the full board along with that discussion and address it at the same time. Said, with the amount of, there are projects that we're negotiating facilities agreements right now, there's development that's moving forward right now. So we would like to make the change sooner rather than later. But we want to make sure we address.
Have we been talking to any of our developer, or interested developers about this increase?
They're aware we're looking at it.
Yeah, didn't give them the exact amount yet, so this we're talking about, you know, they were asking how much it's gonna be, and
And Kevin, were you thinking this upcoming board meeting to revisit this, or actually, no, this has to be noticed. So
yeah, this had to be noticed, it'd be probably December for a public hearing. And, but now, I'm just thinking about how we're gonna proportion the condos and apartments. Were you looking at just explanation on how we came up with those numbers, or are you looking for us to revisit redo how they're calculated?
I'm just puzzled about how a condo on one line could be 8,000 and on the next line, the same condo is 11,000.
Oh, okay, maybe that's a easier question to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably you know, what we normally do with those things for the condos and then you have condos with like.
The apartments usually are rental units and they're built to rent. And so, and they're much smaller, at least in our service areas. There are 2 bedrooms or single bedroom units. And the waste associated with them is lower. And I think that's where the confusion is, because maybe the condo is just being used as an interchangeable term for an apartment that's a little bit bigger. But I think we can clarify that. That should be a problem.
Oh, okay, I see. That would be, I think that is, we shouldn't use the same word to describe 2 different size units. So
Yep.
let's clarify that.
Because in our current demand factor table that we have in our current standards, we do have the condominiums and townhouses charged at 0.7 factor to any effective apartment, whereas the apartments are charged at 0.55.
And is there a
Haven't thought
better,
about going into a bedroom, 2 bedroom.
yeah, I was just gonna say, is there a better, and Sean, maybe you could help us out with this. Is there a better way to define that? That's more precise?
I don't know. But that's more of a question that we have to standardize and work on our standards. Kind of zone in on basically what we have defined in our demand factor table. Once, and that's kind of led to a few other discussions, like Kevin mentioned, the past that we've started looking at in-house as to how we can define some of these and kind of bring a better number. And we are starting to work on our standards. And
I understand that, but I think there might be a way with short of revisiting all of that, just a way to clarify these categories here.
yes.
Yeah, so like a 2-bedroom condo versus 3-bedroom condo, is that how we're suggesting that? What you're looking.
Well, I
Sean, do
wanna
you have
make
any
sure
thoughts
I
on
did-
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure I just didn't copy a name down, like the condo shouldn't be there in both, so I'll
Yeah,
look
that's
back
kinda
at
what I'm
those as
thinking.
well. But if not, if, as we've discussed, it's size based, then I think what was said earlier is we just need some definitions around why it would fall in one or the other. And we do have some that are based on size or bedrooms. You could use that. You could use, I know this is sewer, or wastewater, but we could use, some folks will use fixture units to get that differential as well. So there's ways to define this. If we should have condo in both, it's based on size, then I think we can come back to that definition.
All right, well, we need, work on it, somebody.
Okay, we'll work on that and define it with the condo is and where it should live. And then one thing we skipped over a little bit was the area benefit that was mentioned. So the North Vista Plaza development is building a lift station that's oversized for their needs. So there's a Jenny Lynn Elementary School porch main that was just recently brought into our service area for future connections. So everybody on Purpose C can connect to us, but they would be going through the North Vista Plaza. So there would be an add-on for people that live on that Purpose C leg to pay for part of the lift station that LGI's home is building. So that would be an addition of a couple $1,000, the connection fee for that too. We don't have the exact numbers from LGI as far as the cost of the lift station, so, but we're hoping to have that before we bring this to the board.
How does the water from the Chevron and the gym, what path is that taking?
So at the splits, there's a 8-inch line that comes through from the property that's near your property. It comes down, and there's a line that comes down, 8-inch that comes from kind of the Valley Springs direction. And those come into a 10-inch pipe there. So there's two ways to feed that.
Where do they go into they go up Ovendale Road?
No, that goes down towards Huckleberry, through by Gold Creek.
I thought on my side of the highway, there, on the north side, it stopped on other piece of property that had happened. Piece of, I thought it stopped there before the mini storage. Question is, how did it get from the gym run down the street? I can't remember that.
So it goes down Highway 26, it follows down Highway 26, right where that storage place is. And then it crosses over under the bridge across into Gold Creek. That's,
So it goes, it's on the other side of, it's on the south side of the highway.
yes,
Right, okay. That makes more sense. All right. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we will be looking at this again shortly. That's the consensus?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Thanks, Sean.
4C, 4E, Arnold Secondary Clarifier Project update.
All right, so it's just a project update, no action necessary. So since the last project update that took place at the September 17th Engineering Committee meeting, a lot did take place in a very short period of time between USDA Hydroscience and CCWD. They were ironing out last bit of details between the owner-engineer agreement with the USDA to be able to get approval to advertise the project. Very happy to say that the USDA did approve the project to advertise on the eve of the government shutdown at pretty much the last minute. So we were very, very fortunate to have that. If we didn't, the project would have been delayed. But since we did get approved to advertise, we are on schedule. So we did post a project for advertisement on 10/17. We are scheduled to have a pre-bid walk on November 19th. And then we're still on schedule to open for bid. Well, we're planning on bidding on opening for bid on 12/17. That is likely going to be extended with the government shutdown taking place currently. However, with our timeline, we're still looking at being able to start the project on time, even with the Build America, Buy America long lead times, even with whatever the government has decided. So if we do open on time, everything stays on schedule. We are expecting to have substantial completion on target for spring of 2020.
Have any questions?
Thank you.
Good to see you again, Jason.
Any public comment on that item? Okay, we'll move on to the developer deposit update, Sam.
good afternoon. We're here, I just wanted to open up a discussion dialogue in regards to the application process and the fees that are associated with any of the development projects that we receive in the past, ever since I've been here. We basically, the fees have stayed consistent on what we call the concept review, where we look at the project and describe that to the project owner, give them feedback, and proceed with facilities agreement and developing the facilities, so on and so forth. There is an attachment of the existing flow chart and part of the agenda that shows you basically, once we receive the application, we go through various steps in kind of detailing as to receiving it, doing the concept review, and if requesting design report as part of all that, and then giving them the approval depending upon what the design report submittal looks like. And then once we have all those documentation, basically that's when we go ahead and sign the facilities agreement with the project owner. And then that leads to the improvements that are sought out as part of the agreement. But this approach has kind of led to some complications in the past, and having a convoluted flow chart, it kind of confuses pretty much everybody when trying to explain things over the phone in a meeting. So we're trying, our approach is that we're kind of looking at various options, trying to simplify this as much as we possibly can, and help the developers, people looking to develop their properties, and kind of make it easy. And also at the same time, make it easy for the employees, staff to streamline the whole process and make sure that we're not charging crazy amount of money, but also we're not taking the money that is our ratepayers funding the operations to serve the needs of developers that are paying for facilities to work on. So like in our current setup, the fees are nominal. We charge $200 for like a single lot, and $1,000 if it's considered commercial, or if somebody's working on a subdivision development. There's no size difference, like parcel could be subdivided into, so there's a bit confusion in terminology. So our thought is to kind of break it down into just have the info lots served by our pre-existing service application that we use to serve people in the existing service areas. And if there is new development that's coming along, then we create a full package for them with a flat fee for the application. Once we receive the application, we can give them the feasibility notification that basically tells them that we've looked at your project and we have capacity in our system, and these are the capacity fees that will be charged for this project. And that could give them basically a budget to assign for their specific project when it comes to utilities. But that doesn't break down the nitty-gritty minutia and details of as to like the cost of admin work that would be associated. But that's just basically the concept, right? That would be just the concept in terms of like, oh, this is what we're proposing, this is the proposal of what they want to do. Then they can get into their project improvement plans. They can submit those. At that point, we can look at costs, how we want to charge the developer for that. When we looked at the adjacent utilities, the way some of the adjacent utilities in the area, they charge hourly labor rate as to how these, when the developer comes in, for each hour that the staff is working on, those charges are accrued and they bill them accordingly. But we also have this part of the facility agreement that we collect the developer deposit, which is nominal in the amount of $5,000 that we collect, but that's mostly used for construction inspection and some of the plan review process that we do. So as that is done, the $5,000, they don't go very far, especially on a bigger project. So what we are kind of proposing is that if the developer is going to do the project, maybe there is a certain percentage, we can create like a tiered percentage plan that would allow the district to collect fees that are a portion of that project cost, what the construction cost would look like. kind of like how we budget for any of our construction projects and collect those fees up front, and that way we can provide those services. We're not waiting on billing the developer, but we will still invoice them as to what the pending fees or what the pending amount is in their account. This kind of would streamline it. Also will cut back on the delays that might be caused by any of the missing payments or delay in payments from the developer. And we won't have to delay the construction process or the review process. Basically would help the district get those funds upfront, so we don't have to float any of the costs for the development project that is being proposed by taking the money from the ratepayers that could be utilized in our operations and daily work. And that could eventually be tied in with the facilities agreement and could lead to construction, and that construction could be covered by the fees that would be collected as part of that agreement. I know it's kind of, I'm throwing a lot of,
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I'm just trying to put myself in the position. Potential. Piece of property of 15 houses on it. I know, Jimmy. I would suspect that if the deposit is a giant amount, might scare off a potential. Scary. So,
But then we give the concept approval comes first. We give them
yes,
the go ahead.
we do, but at the same time, like if when the concept approval is given, that basically is the provision that we give them. These are the budget, like the capacity fees that you will be collected upon the finished product. Once they develop the project, if they're saying small developer that's coming along and doing 10 houses, for example, they will have the capacity fees they will have to cover. But if there's a line extension or the earthwork and the utilities that they will have to extend to their property and do that work, we still have to review those designs. And in the current format, we review those and we collect we charge the amount to their specific account and we bill them accordingly. They're still being billed either way. It's just that sometimes that process could last 60, 90 days and delays the contract. It delays the contractor, delays the project owner, and it delays the billing on our side.
It's a bit of a transparency thing. So we don't want to discourage development. We want to encourage development consistent with land use planning. But I think we also want to be upfront with the developer about costs that it's going to incur and figure out the most transparent and efficient way to do it.
And I mean, that's another topic of discussion is like, if they're phasing it, we don't have to collect the fees for the whole project up front. It could be just phased out as part of the construction cost that is associated with that phase alone.
I'm putting on my hypothetical, that again. Don't you have a file cabinet full of bid projects that if I ask you, Sam, can you give me an indication of what this might cost? What would you charge to this guy that did this stuff down the road? Couldn't you pull it out and say, well, it's going to cost you $3 million?
Well, we have like for our project costs, we can look at the examples like especially when it comes to piping projects, pipeline projects that we have done. But the district costs are based off of prevailing wages. So those costs, they could vary from the private contractor as to the amount of work that they're going to do and how they fund that project. And usually is a lot cheaper than the district projects cost.
So you would make that clear to them.
Yes, actually.
Would there be a, like an alternate path that they could take on the design? If their son-in-law is a reputable, recognized designer of these facilities, could a third party do that? The design subject to your approval, but
Yes, that's currently what we do is the design submittal has to come to the district, but as long as it's a certified civil engineer that is providing that design, the district, and they follow the district standards, we accept that.
okay. So,
So basically, the discussion is to keep the costs upfront and as like Michael mentioned, as transparent, making sure that it's not a bit of a surprise as the billing goes along the project. They're aware as to like, okay, there's a certain percentage of the project cost that will be tied down to the review process. And there's a certain percentage that would be tied to the daily inspections of the work that's being conducted, especially if those facilities are being accepted by the district in the future upon construction. And that if that percentage or the amount of money that's being received by the district, if it's not fully utilized in the end, when the project closes, that's refunded back to the owner at that point.
I don't have any problem with anything that you said so far. Also refreshing thing is it would, daylight savings time has changed now. It'd be dark before you could explain this.
It's been a challenge. I've been working with that for a while. And that's the best I could do in the short time span is like the proposal that I've put together. Just trying to simplify it as much as we possibly can.
This.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's why we're basically asking the committee as to like what the preference would be. Would you like us to move ahead and go prepare a plan for like hourly billing charges or like a tiered structure? I know Director Davidson had concerns about that. So
What are your thoughts?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on the hourly rate?
What one do you think? It's their. Their business.
Well, that's what they're recommending. Do we have to say, yeah, we like that? Or
Yeah, fine. At least you this one.
cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
public comment?
Okay, we'll go to old business. Is there any public comment on that? We'll go to old business project updates.
Come on, Juan.
Good afternoon, directors. My name is Juan. I'm an associate civil engineer at the district, and I'll be going over the project updates. On the screen, what you have is some of the pipe that we have received for the sea transmission line. It's a 20-inch ductile pipe.
Or are those being stockpiled?
As of right now, some of them are at the water treatment plant in Kiva Drive there in Copper Cove. And I took some pictures and I'll share them in the next slide. At the entrance of the golf course, to the left side of it, you'll see some staging area there as well from the city. They're the contractor doing the installation. On this picture that you have in front of you, I took it close up to the right. That's the B tank on top of Wind River Road. And as you can see, some of the challenges we have is the really shallow rock. That's at the foundation. You can see the foundation of the ring foundation for the B tank. Okay. So, but luckily, mainline installation is nearly complete, and the 8 Woods is actually this week. They're closing them or connecting the two sides of the A tank and the B tank sides. Once once the pipeline is completed, installed, they're gonna jump into PRVs or 500, whatever is left to tie it up before, the crews jump into the service line installation. So those are the 210 installations that we still have pending. That will be the second phase of the project, or the next phase of the project, I should say. And after those are installed, then we're gonna move it to the paving restoration for the project. As I mentioned earlier, this is the Copper Cove Sea transmission line. On the picture on the left, they're unloading the pipe at the entrance of the golf course. And on the picture on the right, that's one of our vehicles parked next to the pipe, just so you can see as a reference. Sure amount of the pipe that we have. Let's see. So we anticipate to start construction of the main line in January. Traffic control and road closure plans are under county review. Project submittals reviews are in progress. Staff plans to execute a change order to rehab existing buildings at the B tank and C tanks. Whole structure is listed there. Any questions on this? Next project is going to be the Copper Cove with water system improvement projects, and on the left you have your clear well tanks. Those are at the water treatment plant, and on the right they're set of the tank B side. What you see is that new tanks are both the rehab tanks and then the new tanks. So, the work is nearly complete, and we anticipate the project close is going to be this month.
What are the sizes of those things?
3,000 gallons.
Yeah.
300 gallons. Sorry, for the, actually, I don't know. For the detail.
Yeah.
All, everything with it? West Point and Wesleyville water consolidation project. This project is also as well, it's almost complete. KW Emerson has completed dam dewatering and cut through work that you can see in the middle image. It's really hard to see. And staff plans to bring this to the board for final acceptance in December. Copper Cove wastewater treatment plant. So where the star is located, that's where the new SAF unit is going to be located at. And it's the plans for it on the left bottom. Show some of the piping network. And a rendering of the, pretty similar to the same unit that we're going to receive is at the top left corner. And we are expecting this unit to arrive like mid-April of next year. Then is the Pond 6 project. So the lot line adjustments for the dam rate has been approved by the county. The updated letter report and PPA signed by the Sacramento district, and it was routed to the San Francisco district for final approval. The dam raise work may begin upon final approval of the letter report.
In the darker area is the existing footprint.
No, that's just algae blooming on the top of the lake. Yes. And that's the purpose of the SAF, is to take some of the pre-filter before we send it to filter. So now we have the Arnold secondary clarifier, and as I just covered on the previous agenda, the district and the USDA have executed that owner engineer agreement, and construction bid has been advertised. So, given to Bergantes. Change slides. West Point Drop Project. So phase one submittals, which include a 60% design, the environmental conditions and the permitting, was submitted to Cal OES. Cal OES is reviewing for completeness before they forward it to FEMA. FEMA will conduct environmental and historic preservation review and address construction funding. Waiting. This project, Copper Cove wastewater system. So I think no, this is right. So this is Lake Tulloch intertide project, and it's part of the Copper Cove umbrella project. So utility potholing was completed, 100% designs are under review right now. We've received them. Construction bid and anticipated for next spring. You guys have any questions? All right. Huckleberry lift station design is completed. Construction will proceed once fundings are secured. CEQA documentations will be completed under the categorical exemption. Black Contenta BioLac and Clarifier project. So we received the 90% designs. We make comments on those. We are waiting for the 100% designs. Environmental studies have been initiated and we anticipate an ISMD. Studies we completed prior to construction and align with future grant application requirements. So Mill Wallace tank replacement. Final design plans are complete. Requests for construction bids have been advertised and construction is anticipated for the beginning of April 2026. I included this slide just to show they're located on opposite side of our district, how big of our district coverage is. I think one is like around 300 feet of elevation, another one is over 4,000. Ibis Pass master plan hydraulic model. So Hydro Science is developing a calibrated hydrologic model. This staff completed hydro flow testing to simulate fire flows. And the data will be used for model. And the Arnold Sewer master plan and as Chase cover an agenda for C. But if you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question. The picture that shows the algae bloom in pond 6. We attended a presentation last night at the Utica office. And they were talking about a big problem they had in their raw water holding pond. And I'm assuming that there will be some parallels here. Seemingly the solution to their algae bloom, they're initially chemicals, but then they are in the process of putting in some aeration devices, 4 of them. And that's theoretically supposed to control the algae bloom problem. Do we have any similar plans to put aerators in here?
Unfortunately, where I put the star, there's an aeration pump there, which circulates air through the water and it just brings oxygen to the bugs so they can actually digest some of that. So we do have aeration already implemented in the pond. You don't see it because I have the red star.
Well,
So we do, so the Forest Meadows Pond is an example where we use very similar treatment and aeration, which is both are required. We've learned to address the increasing prevalence of these toxic algae blooms over time. As we've seen temperatures rise, they now are moving into higher elevation bodies of water, like Forest Meadows even. And so, yeah, we definitely have some experience with with chemical treatment and aeration. And another, so part of the solution is this pre-treatment process that we're adding to the tertiary filter. That will help prevent that algae from reaching the filter itself. So it's a combination solution.
But currently, one said that the star covers up the one aerator that we have. If we're gonna significantly increase the holding capacity and footprint of the pond, I mean, or the pond 6 footprint, wouldn't it be logical to add one or more aerators to make it efficient?
We could definitely look into that.
Yeah. we might have to-
I don't think that's in the plan right now, but we definitely look into that. We'll talk to Hydroscience and see what their recommendations are on the aeration, as far as adding it. But yeah, if we're doubling the capacity of the pond, we'd need more air. Yeah, but the SAF unit uses those micro bubbles that dropping. It takes almost all the algae out. It's the most advanced system for algae removal. So I think our problems with algae will be greatly improved with that.
It doesn't look like it's working.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. Like, I don't know when that picture was taken. Sometimes you have duckweed on the top of the pond. So I'm not sure if that's algae or duckweed, but it could be a combination of it. So it might not be
Algae or what?
duckweed. It's a
Oh,
grass that grows on top of it. So it looks green just like that too. So it could be a combination of that. So I'm not sure when that picture was taken or where it was taken, but
well,
that might not be algae there in the picture.
if we could get aeration there, more, apparently from what I learned last night, the more the better.
Okay. Yep, we'll look at it for sure.
Thank you.
Kristen?
I'm satisfied. Thanks, man.
Okay, Jim Landers comments?
Yes. Question.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead, whoever this is.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Francisco. Sorry I joined late. I had a meeting with a financial planner I had a conflict with, but a question about the Wallace project. Those plans are final, right? What level of public information is planned to let the Wallace folks know, look, here's what we're doing for you, good things.
We're planning to be at the Wallace CSD board meeting in the next few weeks as well. So yeah, there's outreach happening in Wallace.
That answer your question?
So you're doing your Facebook things is that the public outreach?
I'm not sure if we've
Michael
highlighted
Payne,
that.
right? Probably with the board.
So we've met directly with representatives from Wallace recently, and then we're meeting with the CSD board in the next couple of weeks. And, you know, we've been posting a lot of updates about projects lately. I'm not sure if we've highlighted that one specifically or not.
Yeah, I was just curious because it's, you know, it's coming to fruition and there's a lot of chitter chatter out there and a positive view would be welcomed, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're really excited about that project. That tank is definitely need a repair. So I think it's a great project for the community.
And they need to be aware of it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Hey, Jim Landers comments? Oh. Oh.
Yeah, Mike Rogers from Valley Springs. My question is regarding tank A and B project. Are we replacing all the service lines along the main line? What's the timeline for completion?
Yeah, we're replacing all the service lines on the alignment, so everybody will have a new service line. And then the completion, this rock's kind of caused us some problems. We fell a little bit behind. We spent an extra month breaking rock. So it was targeted for around April, but it could fall in May and June. Yeah, so they'll be doing some trench paving here in the next month or so to see what they can get as far as trench paving, but the overlay will have to happen after the service lines are completed. So. Yeah, it'd be a 2-inch overlay. So for the whole, well, it depends on which road, but our Vixen's gonna be both sides of the road. And then, yeah, one other thing, we lost our senior engineer this last week, so that was unfortunate. So
What?
our senior engineer in the department, so we're scrambling to try to fill what workload that he had. So that's real unfortunate because we got a great staff, so we're gonna push forward.
Jeez, Kevin stealing my thunder from my report.
Gentlemen,
Well, I guess nothing now. Thanks, Kevin. But I was gonna mention that too. No, I'm glad you did. And I blame myself for mentioning a couple of times recently that the engineering department is fully staffed. Won't make that mistake next time it happens. But no, Kevin's right. We do have a great team. So full confidence in the engineering team, and we'll start a recruitment here before long. And I will save my other comments for next week's board meeting.
any comments? Comments?
How are you recruiting going for the admin services?
I don't have any announcements, but it's going very well.
No. How about, upper office force main? I'm asking for a report on that.
Yeah, hopefully we have some more movement on that before the next engineering committee meeting. There's been a lot of work on Reed's Turnpike, but I want to see the force main moving forward too.
Hold up, as I recall, on the Reed's Turnpike facility was staking.
I think we're over that now. It took some work, but I think we've resolved that issue so that the design can move forward.
Yeah, they staked it a couple weeks ago, and then we met with the property owner again. We looked at the it's still open to the easement, but there's some additional conditions in this.
We're hopefully close to resolving that.
Yeah.
It'll move forward.
That's all.
I have no comments. I am leaving tomorrow for a little trip. 9 days. So with that, the next committee meeting looks like January 6th, 2026. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.